I'm here today largely because I have family who did not survive the Auschwitz concentration camp. I went there this past summer for the first time to any camp and was incredibly moved by what I saw. And it's one of those things where it's hard to believe that mankind can be so cruel to mankind. It truly is. My dad was Hungarian, was born in Hungary, hot-headed Hungarian type, as so many of them can be. But he left Hungary long before the war. Came here as a young man, 15 years old, on a steamship, landed here in 1911, processed through Ellis Island. It was through my talks with him over the years that he gave me insights into his own family. I really can't tell you how long they were in the camps before they were all murdered by the Nazis. And my grandmother, who was kind of that time leader of the family who was left, was herded into a building which I went to this past year and had a chance to touch the walls where she resided. Within a year after the war was over, my dad received a letter from a woman who was with my grandmother at the time she was in Auschwitz. It was in Hungarian, but my dad translated it for me. She described the conditions of the camp, which were beyond deplorable. Everything you've read or heard about it existed through her eyes, and she expressed it very well. The Nazis began a very formidable process of separating the wheat from the chaff. The process was one of self-selection, which people in the camps did not know about it or realize what it was until they faced the decision of marching down a path and having to choose at a juncture whether you took the left road or the right road. The left road might lead to the gas chamber, the right road back to the camps again. That's where my grandmother met her fate, and the fate of so many other people who had to choose each week whether they lived or died. I just wish that the rest of my family had a chance to hear that letter. I have no idea what happened to it. My dad had it for a long time, and all of a sudden he didn't have it anymore. And I suspect he probably could not handle keeping it any longer, and so he destroyed it. It was a hard thing for me as a kid. I was 10, 11 years old at the time. I couldn't understand what this was all about. And then realized that I was hearing history in the making through the eyes of this woman who my dad would never, ever meet. That's one of those things that I will never forget as a child. It will haunt me forever. I talk very little, very rarely about it. And as sad as it was, and horrific as reading the letter was to my dad and to the rest of us indirectly, we couldn't help but feel that there was closure. There was a way of finding out what really was happening. And it made a huge difference to us to better accept, even though we couldn't stand to understand. We felt better having known at least this is what life was like. I think it's important that we have an exhibit like this, not to relive the horror of what went on, but just to keep a reminder to people. But it is so important that this knowledge be carried on out of respect to those who gave their lives, who died not knowing why, not understanding why mankind could be so horrible. But I'm sure many of them felt someday their memories will be preserved, and what you're doing preserves that memory.